Oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting it right
It's okay.
now.
I can edit this.
Or
leave it in.
Well, whatever. We'll figure it out. Put it at the beginning, Jason. That's your fucking MO.
I know, it's fun. Hey. Welcome to Life's Greatest Hits. I'm Jason Earle.
And I am Jordan Foley.
Here's how it goes. We do a vinyl swap each month where we lend each other a physical copy of an album from our personal collections, particularly one the other guy hasn't heard of or doesn't know all that well. We spend the entire month listening to the album physically, do our research, and jot down our thoughts, then get together to discuss each record. The conversation could go anywhere, but will mainly be focused on what we think of the album, any takeaways on what we learned, and really where the listening ultimately took us. We'll give each other half the time of the episode to talk about the albums we were given and go from there. Jordan, buddy, how you doing?
What's going on, man?
Chilling.
Woo-hoo.
I've been looking forward to this day for a while.
I know. We kept pushing it back because we've been so busy.
I know. It's a nice problem to have. We've had a lot going on, both of us.
Yeah.
So what's been going on with you?
Nothing much. Just some cool shit. It's wild because I thought, 2024 brought me some really great opportunities. And 2025 is already off to a great start. I will be hitting the road with Mr. John Moreland.
Hell yeah, you will.
In February and March, playing all of the dates that he has booked in Florida. That's ultimately the biggest thing, man. I mean, it was pretty crazy. I as we talked about in the last episode, I went up to Nashville for the John Prine tribute show, and I had to go early because the hurricane was coming to Florida, so I had to change my flight. And while I was up there, John Moreland just so happened to be playing the night of my first day there in Nashville, so I obviously bought a ticket. And then the next day I was in Grimey's record store, and in comes John Moreland while I'm like purchasing 6 records. And I'm like, oh my God. What the fuck do I do? And so I was like, well, you only got one shot at this. You only can say, hey, let me talk to you. Hey, John, I'm Jordan Foley. And luckily, he was such a gracious guy and so sweet and so kind. And he took the time to talk with me. We talked about music. We talked about you and the interview that you had on the Marinade.
Awesome.
He loved it. Had such a great time. We talked about our mutual friend Mike Dunn, who's a photographer and creative director. And man, I mean, his accolades just keep piling up in town. Wonderful musician. And John was like, man, back in the day, we got to play some shows together, and I've always looked up to Mike Dunn, and I was like, whoa, shit, that's awesome.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, man. And I told him I play in Orlando, and just trying to make a thing of it myself, and left on a very good note. And when I got back from Nashville, I hit him up and just said, hey man, it was so great meeting you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I mean, I'm a big fan. I was literally wearing the John Moreland camo hat that I wore that I bought the night before as I was meeting him. So like, it is meta. One of those, yeah, it's very meta. It's like, oh shit, I'm a fan right now. And then that crazily, transitioned into just me shooting my shot and sending him a message saying, hey, if you ever have any shows that you need somebody to open for you, it'd be an absolute honor. I'd love to do that. A couple weeks later, he responded and was like, what's a good email for you? And here we are. So yeah, opening for John Moreland.
Hell yeah.
The shows will be at the Blue Jay Listening Room in Jax Beach, which is easily one of my top 3 favorite venues that I've ever played.
Shout out to Kara.
Yeah, shout out to Kara for always, just running such a beautiful venue. And, it was the first venue that the band and I sold out with Kyle Keller opening for us. It was a wonderful experience. And every time I get to play there, it's just an absolute treat. And then the next night, this is February 25th to the 27th. The next night will be at Heartwood Soundstage in Gainesville, which is another beautiful venue, great sound, great acoustics. It'll be real intimate. And then the following night, 27th of February, we'll be at Tuffy's, which is one of my home bases here in Florida. It'll be in Sanford.
Such a great venue.
Yeah. And it's just a really cool opportunity. Then March 8th, I'll be at Safety Harbor Art and Music Center with John, out by Tampa. So ultimately, that's what I have going on. I'm writing, which is fun. I'm writing new music. I just wrote a new song I'm really excited about. I was inspired because I saw you play at Barley and Vine down the street. You just, you're playing some of your songs, and I heard some of the other artists in the lineup, and I just got inspired to write a song that was more lighthearted. And I'm trying to, challenge myself to do different things and write certain ways and try to be more personable. So I'm very excited with the direction that things are going.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah,
dude.
man. How about you? What's up?
Man. One of my favorite, just a quick comment on a lot of that. One of my favorite things about making The Marinade, my podcast, The Marinade, is the connections that happen. Like the fact that you've been on twice and then you run into Moreland. Moreland was just recently on when you ran into him. I mean, I think that episode maybe had just dropped.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple weeks prior.
Yeah, when you ran, and you helped me a lot with that, with the promotion of it and making some videos for it that turned out really well. And so it like warms my heart when those connections happen.
Yeah, man.
There was a American Songwriter released like up and comers kind of Instagram post, and a handful of people that had been on the show were there, and then were on this list, and then also like friends of that I've made through the show were on there too, and it really warms my heart to see all these connections, and people in the same room, and it's just it's really, really cool.
It's really special. What you have with The Marinade is a very special thing. It's a special podcast. It introduced me to interviewing. It was a great start to being able to find my voice, to be able to speak easily. I went back to our first episode on The Marinade, and I think back to like how I didn't know how to respond. I said yeah in between everything you said. So I've like learned a lot. I think I've learned a lot since then on how to like just handle a conversation on the mic, because it is way, way different than one-on-one in person kind of deal. So
it truly is, and you kind of snap into a different way of thinking when you're doing an interview like that. And sometimes I find it almost easier because there are rules. There are kind of these rules you have to. I like to have parameters.
Yeah,
and it kind of helps me to have parameters, and kind of if I have guardrails, I'm a lot more productive than if my brain is just allowed to do whatever it wants to do.
Exactly. Guardrails.
But man, the Marinade.
That's the lesson of the day.
That's the lesson. Yeah, the Marinade is. I'm in such a great place with it. We just covered Orange Blossom Review. Jen Ross and I did one of my favorite festivals in Lake Wales. Shout out to Orange Blossom Review and Rusty and everybody involved with that festival. And I release my Jason's Journals each day, which I'm really grateful people connect with. It's just sort of, it's my way to kind of connect and share the experiences that I'm having, and folks really seem to be digging it. So you can check those out wherever you listen to podcasts. I also released my second conversation with Daryl Hantz, whose record Devil's Millhopper is one of my favorites from this year. Nice. And I've got Casey Anderson, Amethyst Kia, and as you know, BJ Barham in the can. The third appearance. 3. Yeah, the third appearance. He's one of the Marinade hat tricks.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Jordan was there, y'all, to capture the moment where I got to sit down with BJ for the third time, and it was awesome on a lot of levels. One of the coolest things about it is like thinking about where American Aquarium was in 2018 when I interviewed him,
right,
versus where they are now.
Yeah,
like how much the crowds have grown and the exposure has grown, and thankfully more ears are on that music, and then also the amazing records.
Yeah, the evolution of the music itself is wild.
Just like the records between then and now. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like I love all those old records too. Yeah. But the last 3 or 4 have just been banger after banger.
BJ doesn't miss, man.
He doesn't miss.
That's why he's a dude I look up to tremendously. And just to be a fly on the wall in that conversation, folks, it was an absolute honor. Just to be there. I really had to like tuck my fantail back, between my legs to be like, you're here to be a videographer. So focus on taking video. You're not doing any fucking thing else. Don't you say anything. Don't you don't you interject. This is what was going on in my mind the whole conversation. I've been holding on to this for a while.
That's funny.
Because I'm a loudmouth, man. And I just I would love to be, in the conversation, but I had a job to do. And so, it was really nice to be able to just listen to you guys, talk, and ultimately hear BJ talk.
Yeah.
because BJ is so gracious and kind with his time, and always loves talking about the business and talking about his career and talking about how far, how much it takes, how far he's come, like the lessons he's learned. So it's definitely going to be a very special episode. It'll be coming out when? Do you wanna say when that'll be? Go on ahead and say when that. So, we don't know when this will be released. I imagine it'll be released before then.
Yeah.
So when will it be coming out?
Well, the exact date escapes me right now. The 23rd.
I just mouthed it to him. Yeah, you saw it in the video there.
23rd, everybody.
That's right. December 23rd.
This is perfect evidence of what a great influence Jordan has been on me when it comes to promotion.
I keep track.
He keeps track, and he keeps me in line, and has fired me up a lot. And it's led to a lot of cool stuff, man. Last night I was working on this show and the Marinade. I went out and had a couple beers and got to run into your lovely fiance Mariah as well out there, and just sitting at the bar. She was doing work, I was doing work. And there's a creative energy here. I saw our good friend Benji Gray do stand up for the first time in 10 years last night.
Man, that's awesome.
And it was just, I don't know. I just think there's a creative energy here in the neighborhood that we all have. Like, we're all, I think, finding a voice and fired up about the work that we're doing, and it's contagious.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. And I will admit, for me personally, as I'm getting older, I'm finding it more difficult to be like, all right, after dinner I'm going to get up and go out on a Wednesday night and see somebody perform. It takes that little extra effort, but once you get out there and you see what's going on, especially around town, whether it's stand-up comedy or whether it's songwriters or open mics, I mean, there's so much going on here in the Milk District. So big shout out to everybody in the Milk District. Shout out to the board, the Milk District Committee. I mean, you were working on Krampus Fest.
Yeah.
You were involved with Mariah in trying to put on a very enjoyable show. I heard it was a really great turnout.
Event. Yeah.
Bigger than last year, which is awesome because last year was fucking huge. So big shout out for that. Big shout out to Angie Folks, everybody. I mean, she works her butt off just like really trying to hold things together in town and really put on some really fun events. So if you're ever in Orlando, Florida, and you find yourself not knowing where to go or what to do, and you are far from the theme parks, because again, Orlando is not only theme parks, come on down to the Milk District.
Seriously,
check out the bars, check out the restaurants. There's always something going on. Hannah Stokes, shout out to Hannah Stokes. She puts on songwriter shows in town as well. Very excited that there is something in the works with me, Hannah, and Kaylee Baker that I'm not allowed to talk about yet. I hope that by the time this comes out, it'll be announced. So I'm not going to say anything further about it, but it's very, very exciting.
Tease.
Yeah. A little tease there. So, it's just a wonderful, wonderful town to be a part of in the music scene.
Y'all, if you don't know Kaylee Baker or Hannah Stokes' music, check them out, both of them. Just like powerhouses, both of them.
Absolute powerhouses. Obviously, Kaylee Baker's been in the scene and has done the thing for a long time. Honestly, one of my favorite voices of the South, straight out of Florida. Like, there not a lot of singers compare to Kaylee Baker in my book.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. All right, man. Well,
let's get into it. I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
You're up, dude.
I
You're
know.
first.
I know.
We've been switching around. We've been switching it up. I did first last time.
I'm looking forward to.
I hope you don't butcher this one.
Well, you gave me a record that is straight flames this time.
That's great. So
that's my opening.
Yeah,
straight flames.
Trash my favorite music, man. No,
yucking is yum.
That's my Dan Campbell impression. I've been working on it. Come on, man.
Anyway. 20. I wonder how many of our listeners will get that reference.
The Lions?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who cares? I hope you do, but if you don't, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're football nerds too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with this. 2013, again and again. This record came out in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
It's Chance the Rapper's Acid Rap, and I've been talking about this year for. I feel like the through line of the show so far.
2013, also 2018, I think too.
Yeah.
Has been a pinnacle year for music for you.
Yep. Yep. And 2013, I'm not going to rehash all the things we talked about when we talked about Dawes, but I was looking back at like the hip hop records that came out that year, and thinking about the music I was listening to at the time. And the thing that really stood out to me about this record is it's digestible as a commercial product to market to a broad audience, but it's also really interesting and creative.
Yeah.
And there's just very few. I don't typically go for much commercial hip hop. I could do without Drake.
Sure.
You know, I could do without insert other, hip hop artists.
I don't mean to laugh. I just saw this video, and I'm so sorry to interject.
Okay.
I just saw this video of Mos Def getting asked about Drake. Have you seen this?
No, but I want to.
Can I tell you about it real quick?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so Mos Def is getting asked about Drake, and the interviewer is like, "Is Drake hip hop?" And Mos Def froze. He's like, "Why you gotta ask me a question like that in this interview?" And he's like, "Some people might say so." He's like, "When I listen to Drake, I don't hear it." Yeah. And like he goes off on this whole tangent, and then at the very end of it, he goes, "Man, don't hit me with any more curveballs like that because I'm not trying to find heat from anybody." he backpedaled. He's like, take it easy. But yeah, no, continue.
Well, I mean, Drake doesn't want any smoke from Mos Def, that's for sure.
He doesn't want any smoke anymore ever. I would hope.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I mean, you got buried, dude. Just lick your wounds. Go back to some what's the dance sound that he has now? Go back to that.
Keep doing it. Yeah. But I think one of the things we've talked about, I just talked about earlier how I have Casey Anderson, an episode with him coming up, a huge Mos Def fan, and he's kind of like he's my window into the hip hop that I really like.
Nice.
And so I'll hit him up for suggestions pretty often, or not pretty often, as I can. And because I think in 2013 I was plugged in, and part of it was there was so much cool shit happening. And I think about the Odd Future guys. I think about Earl Sweatshirt. Tyler the Creator is getting really starting to pop then.
Oh yeah.
Kanye was still making good music.
Goblin was my fucking jam.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit, all that stuff, because again, it was digestible for the masses.
Yeah.
But it is also incredibly creative. The sounds that they're using, when I think about lyrically Chance on this record, he says some wild shit. I mean, but it works.
Yeah,
it works,
yeah.
And yet
he has great prose.
Yes,
yeah.
and yet it comes across as incredibly accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of, I didn't know hardly anything about Chance coming into this.
Really?
Yeah, hardly
at
anything.
all.
I mean, I knew the hits,
yeah.
But I hadn't really dove in. And man, I'm a fan now.
Yeah.
I mean, this record
good.
got me from the first listen, and I just kept listening to it.
Totally.
Then I went back to the rest of his catalog, and that motherfucker doesn't miss.
Doesn't miss at all.
It's great. The whole thing's great.
Juke Jam.
And I'm like, where have I been?
I can throw that shit down.
No, dude, I mean,
cool.
It makes you want to dance. It makes you want to fuck. It makes you want to do all the things, right?
Yeah.
It makes you want to drink. It makes you want to run. It makes all of the
for everything.
All of the vibes, right? All of the
Sure.
moods, all of the vibes are there on this record. And I mean, he kicks it off. He kicks it off with this good ass intro. Is the name of the song?
Good ass intro.
Good ass intro.
And it's not like a 1 minute intro. It's like a 3 minute, 59.
It's almost 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's almost 4 minutes long. And he's rapping. It's a legit song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Everything on it. I mean, and then on top of that, the other thing I wanted to talk about was it's chaotic.
Yes. Yeah.
But cohesive.
Oh yeah.
Which is crazy.
With intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that lyric where he's talking about acid making him crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's on Good Ass Intro. And it's he is crazy.
Yeah.
But he seems to have his it's like he seems crazy but with his shit together. And I've always marveled at I read something about this record where he said that it wasn't like it was just it's called acid rap, and acid was involved in the making of the record.
Correct.
But he makes clear, he's like, it's not just a drug record.
Right.
And that is very clear when you listen to it too, is that I'm fascinated by folks who are able to, especially coming from a family of addicts, like folks who are able to sort of use drugs in a measured, almost medicinal way and not let it be the whole thing.
Right.
Because one thing, I was having a conversation last night about stoner culture and how, like, I don't partake because it doesn't agree with me.
Sure.
But I don't mind if somebody else does. What I do mind is what bothers me is the culture of, like, people getting so fucking high that they're just as bad as really drunk people, right?
I'm pointing to myself as you say this. I just want everybody to know.
I haven't experienced that with you. You're typically able to stay with me in the conversation and then remember it. But there are plenty of people I know who it becomes so much a part of their personality, and then it fuels their art in a way that is not accessible to other people.
Right.
It's like there are bands that are so associated with marijuana that, like, if you're not high or other drugs, I have this is my qualm with EDM music, is that so often, like, as someone who doesn't partake, I'm listening to some EDM music and I'm like, I don't fucking get this. But people on the drug that it's designed for are losing their minds. Now, I know some sober people who like EDM music.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, it is. Not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
Especially, like, Mariah's a big EDM fan. More into the chill stuff. Like, there's chill EDM. There's chill, like, it's more laid back, it's more subdued, and, like, I was big on, like, oh no, Otto, like, all they do is press a button and there's cool light show. And then, like, I was like, where are the instruments? And then Mariah's like, just listen to this. And, like, she'll, like, while she's getting ready, she'll just randomly, like, a song will pop up and I'm like, who's this? She's like, I fucking told you, it's EDM. And I'm like, all right.
Man, I hope you don't bring me an EDM record.
I don't have any.
Thank God.
Yet.
Yeah, I saw...
Christmas is around the corner. I don't know what I'm getting.
I saw Grizz at... who's, like, apparently a famous EDM...
Sure.
A very famous EDM performer at Bonnaroo 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, dude, it was like the
wild
musical manifestation of my panic attacks.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I had to get as far away from it as I possibly could.
It's a lot.
There was fire,
Yep.
lasers, so many crazy noises.
I was driving down 408 coming home from somewhere, and I was passing EDC over at Camping World. Fucking flames. Literally, as I was driving by, flames shot up right into the air.
Yeah.
Right by my Jeep. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It was cool to see.
Yeah, well, I need to shift gears because I feel like the oldest man in the world right
we're
now.
Back in my day.
Yeah. Where you played instruments?
They didn't even have a lead guitar. They had a mandolin player.
But I think this record is able to channel that chaos, or corral that chaos, rather. And what you hear is the influence of drugs, but not a drug record, and that is masterful to me. I was completely blown away by the fact that he's only 20 fucking years old when he makes this record.
Yes. Yeah.
And again, I had no idea. I'm coming in with, I know he wears the number 3 on his hat. Like, that's
it.
He's
That's
got
all
a
you
great
need.
brand.
He's from Chicago.
Yeah, he's from Chicago. I knew that too.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And so to listen to this record with completely fresh ears, not having any idea what I was getting into, was such a treat.
Hell yeah, man.
The physical copy is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't know much. You educated me on the fact that this was originally dropped as like a free download
On SoundCloud.
on SoundCloud.
As far as I know, that's how it I forgot that it's a pink swirl, dude.
Dude, it's beautiful.
I thought it was a black record for a sec
No.
until you pulled that shit out. Because it's been a while. I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, man, what a beautiful fucking record.
It's a gorgeous record. Yeah. The cover is beautiful.
It just got released on Spotify. I'll talk about that.
So the cover is beautiful as well. This one is a different color.
Yeah, it's like orange, right?
Yeah, it's like kind of yellowish.
Or yellowish, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think this might be like an exclusive too. Like,
man,
I'll continue. Do your thing.
Yeah,
I don't want to like get too far ahead of
good.
myself because that's all part of what I was gonna say about it too.
It's a gorgeous record. The cover is a painting that is based on a photograph of him, and he has this look on his face that really captures like what I was saying about
like frightened.
Yeah, how it's chaotic, but he has corralled the chaos into a cohesive album. There are guests on here that are just mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Twista
Yup.
is on here.
Yup.
Little throwback.
Fucking love Twista.
Twista's on here. That's a good Twista.
Thank you.
I'm sure that he will be.
I've worked on that.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd be grateful for that. Childish Gambino's on here.
Grateful for that. I'm sorry, Twista. Don't hate me.
Oh man, we are just losing. We're losing potential huge fans left and right. Twista.
They just ripped on
fucking
Twista.
Lost Twista.
No, I love Twista. He's one of my favorites.
Action Bronson is on here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that when we talk about these records each month and we think about them, and sometimes, we've had a couple that were like, there's no misses, and then we've had a couple where like, I like this record, this song doesn't fit, here's kind of my thought on these. This doesn't have a skip.
Nope.
The whole thing is as good as I want it to be.
Yeah.
And I am just blown away by it. Everything about it, great record, dude. Fantastic selection. I'm a Chance the Rapper fan now.
Hell yeah, man.
And I didn't know shit about him before.
Welcome to the club.
So talk to me about this one, why you chose it.
Well, okay. So there are a couple things, so just bear with me on that.
Yeah.
I am a Chance the Rapper fan. I don't project it a lot. Again, like I think because I'm in the Americana realm of things, I don't always share my musical taste across the board. Anytime Chance the Rapper has shown up on a song, I get super psyched. I hear his voice. He has this timbre in his voice where I'm like, oh man, hell yeah, Chance is on here. And
well, that's okay. I sorry to interrupt you, but that is something that I did not mention. Is I love his voice.
Yeah, he's got a cool voice, man.
Yeah,
I mean, and he can sing too.
Yeah,
kind of like Gambino, which I love. Childish Gambino.
Same.
I would put Gambino as up there with Kendrick as favorite rap artist of all time.
Oh wow,
but Chance is up there too.
Okay,
for me, and it's because I've grown into that. We've talked a good bit about hip hop and rap on this podcast, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Because I think when we both started this, we were like, it's probably going to be more Southern rock and roll, Americana. Sure. Like, we're going to dive deep into Allman Brothers. Like, I think we both had like different mindsets of how this was going to go. Come to find, we both have some pretty killer rap and hip hop and like R&B records. Like, I still can't get over D'Angelo. Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, with Chance, I got into Chance with this album while it was only on SoundCloud, and I remember thinking, man, I love this album so much that if I ever see it at a record store, I'm buying it. Well, one day, years ago, I stumbled into Retro Records, which is literally right down the street from here. And
half a block.
Yep, and we were. I was looking at the records. I found 2 records that I've always wanted. The other one was Eagles' Hell Freezes Over.
All right.
Because when I was a kid,
my
mom played that all the time. She even has VHS footage of me lip syncing with a guitar in my hand to the whole entire album. I lip sync to the fucking dialogue in between the songs. So there's a reason why I got that record. Mm-hmm. Plus it was imported, so it was like an exclusive. Like they really didn't come out with a lot of vinyl, so that was expensive. That was like that record was like $60.
Yeah.
and I was about to leave. And I remember like being at the cash register, and I look over and I saw Acid Rap, and I was like, fuck, I did say if I ever see this out in public, I'm going to buy it. Well, that was $60 too. That record was 60 bones.
Worth every penny.
Well worth the investment.
Yeah.
Mind you, this was before it got released on Spotify, which was like the other point that I wanted to make about Acid Rap. It only recently got released on streaming services. I think maybe it was on Apple. It was on one of them, but it only recently got added to Spotify, making it more accessible. So I bought that record knowing full well that it was like exclusive, likely hard to find. You can only really listen to it here or there. And I was like, this is a record. Like, I loved the record already, so like I need to buy this record. So I did buy it. Come to find, like you said, the record colors and like
it's gorgeous.
How big of a purchase it was. I don't think I like realized that it didn't market like, oh, this is an exclusive colorful vinyl, like yada yada. So I was just really excited about it. I remember blasting it in my apartment in Sanford for like days. And yeah, man, I mean, there's something to be said about Chance the Rapper. But back to the Spotify factor. So, and I only found this out recently because I haven't really listened to it on Spotify a whole lot. Is that Juice on Spotify is a 30-second promo talking about donating to a charity.
Whoa.
Yeah, because there's a sample on that song that was not approved to be released other than on SoundCloud or on a record or whatnot. So Chance goes on there and he spends 30 seconds telling people this. He's like, hey, I can't put this song on, so I'm just letting you know, like, if you have the time and the money, if you could just donate to this charity that funds this and this and this. So what I think is so cool is that you spent time with this record, and I'm sure that that's like a song you really love.
Yeah.
It is super exclusive. You can't really listen to that easily on Spotify. And so, what we'll dive into, especially in the upcoming episode about superlatives and our favorite albums of the year, is I love exclusive shit.
Yeah.
Like, I love when things are limited and when it's like I have my hand in on something that somebody else does not have or can't have access to. And so I think that goes hand in hand with why I wanted this record as well. So it's not just the music. It's also like, I'm a collector. I can't help it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, it was definitely, I chose this record for you because I felt like the last two in particular were misses, but not in a sense of like I picked wrong for you. It was like I brought out a side of you that you were like, they didn't register with you as much, And I knew that this record, having known that you didn't really dive into Chance before, I was like, well, this is a great introduction,
man.
And also real quick, you were right about the drug factor. I mean, it is influenced by LSD. That he does talk about being on that, doing shrooms, like doing that sort of stuff, but it isn't, like you said, it isn't a drug record. It isn't like a just to fuck around and like let's party kind of thing.
Right.
I feel like Mac Miller had that, like when Mac Miller like first got started, he was a party rapper.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was like my college era, so I love that.
I was just gonna say that's valuable in a way.
Yeah.
Right. Like that has its own value. It's so is. But when you're 44,
Kid Cudi, when Kid Cudi came out, I mean, like Pursuit of Happiness, that was playing in my frat house, like that was playing in my fraternity house, like every day. So and again, like going back into my love and affection for rap and affection for hip hop, we've talked about Aesop Rock, and you've had me listen to a handful of different records. This one definitely stands out as one of my top tier records. So I'm really, really glad that it resonated with you and that you took a lot away from it. So yeah, man, that's exciting.
It is. It also got me back into Earl Sweatshirt and Tyler the Creator and Frank Ocean and
all great names,
all that stuff back then.
Frank Ocean, man.
I remember I had a student who this is back in like 2012.
Okay.
He was like, Mr. E, you gotta listen to Earl Sweatshirt. I was like, Earl Sweatshirt is the guy's name. And you want me to listen to that? And he's like, I'm telling you, And then one of the other kids was like, "Oh, he's not gonna like Earl's Sweatshirt." And the kid defended me. He goes, "Mr. E likes conscious rap."
Conscious rap.
And I was like,
I love the name of that.
Yeah. And so I listened to Earl Sweatshirt. I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, Josh, you are definitely right. This is for me for sure."
Exactly. I had a student back in the day before The Weeknd got popular, who was like, "Mr. Foley, I heard you delve into like a bunch of different music." I was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Have you listened to The Weeknd?" And this was before Weeknd blew up. And I'm the type of dude where it's like I love the music before they fucking hit big.
Yeah.
And so I was into it at first. I was like, "Oh, this is good." It was like I felt underground and it felt like an up and coming new sound. And then it blew up into pop. But yeah, it's really cool to get that type of influence, and it's really cool to hear like a student was like, "Yo, check this out."
Yeah.
Because then it makes you feel cool. Like I think as the teacher, it's like music has always like that was the moment where I realized like I can connect with these students by sharing my favorite music.
Yes.
So Song of the Week with Life's Greatest Hits started with being a teacher. I would put up a song every Monday of the song that I was listening to, and while they would do their 10-minute free write before class started, I would play the song, and they could write about what they think of the song, whether they like it or hate it. They could talk about it, how their weekend was. So like I learned very quickly that music was a great way to connect with students, especially at that age, 7th and 8th grade. And you know, it didn't mean that they liked all my shit. Like they didn't like a lot of my music. I mean, they were pretty open about it, but at least they were like honest. Yeah. You know, I think music makes people talk. You know, makes people discuss. That's why. That's one of the reasons why we have this podcast in the first place, is because we love talking music. Yeah.
No, it's a great way to connect, and it's a great way to learn about people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good segue, I feel.
I do too.
About learning people.
I do too. So, High on 95 by Tim Barry.
Yeah, man. High on 95. So I will just preface by saying, you know, I don't want to take away any of what you're going to say as to why you chose this record, but I do know in particular the main reason why you chose it. So I want to say that.
Yep.
I have the pleasure of getting to open for Tim Barry February 21st at Will's Pub in the new year. Tyler Hood's going to be joining me.
Hell yeah.
Very excited about that. And then Jordan Schneider, who is a local artist and he's a good friend of mine. He's going to be opening the night and playing his songs too. He's such a cool dude, such a sweetheart, such a sweet soul. So very excited to just be a part of that. Shout out to Montgomery Drive. Marshall is one of the best promoters that I've ever worked with. He's so kind and sweet. He used to he'll draw like on the envelope of the check or the money that he gives you. He always draws like a little like doodle, and he did this one where he drew my face on Stone Cold Steve Austin's body with rattlesnakes in it, like that. And my face is on it. That has to be one of the coolest pieces of artwork that I have.
And if you don't know, y'all, Jordan is a huge
I love Stone. Oh hell yeah! I love Stone Cold. There's something about you know, sticking it to the man. I absolutely love.
Yeah.
But going back to Tim Barry, so Jason, you know, I told Jason that I was opening for Tim Barry before it got announced. And he was like, "Have you listened to Tim Barry?" And I was like, "Not as much as I'd like. I've heard some of his tunes, but not like I had never like did a full blown dive." And he was like, "Dude, here you go." And you gave me. I'm guessing this is one of, if not your favorite record by him.
Mm-hmm. It's one of for sure.
Yeah. And it is fantastic. It's a fantastic album. I have listened to this album so much. It has inspired me as a songwriter to step out of my comfort zone, to be very honest, to be very like kind of like put your heart on your sleeve and just like be brutally like you.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in following Tim Barry, after getting announced that we're on the same bill together, that I get to open for him, I've been following him on Instagram. He is a wonderful, it seemed, you know, he's very much a good parent. You know, very much, you could tell he's loving to his kids. He has 2 daughters and he just shares stuff with them. I just saw recently this really cute, this really cute setup of like a throwback photo of the girls like running with a dog down a bridge when they were younger to now running down that same bridge. And like, I feel like I know Tim now, and I don't. I've never met him, never talked to him. Like I told him I'm excited to join the bill, but that's it. This album spoke to me and basically saying, I'm this dude. This is who I am. And I mean, for me, that always speaks volumes with music in general. But when you have an entirely cohesive album from start to finish that identifies a singer-songwriter, not just as the artist, but as the person, I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned exactly who he is. And then, you know, the craft, his craft of being a storyteller is straight up hit you in the gut.
Yes.
And it's not sad. It's not sad music. I think maybe in my head I had this whole thought that like this is just going to be super sad acoustic shit, and I was way wrong, man. I was so wrong with my presumption of, you know, what Tim Berry brings to the table. I did not know about Avail. I did not know that he had this badass punk rock band. And so I dove into some of their tunes. I have a buddy, one of my best friends. He's going to be a groomsman in my wedding. And I've always just been very, very impressed by his music taste. And I've just told him recently that I have a podcast. So Jared, if you're listening to this, dude, I don't let this get to your head, bro. But like, you know, you have good taste in music.
Let it get to your head, Jared.
Yeah, no, don't, because he'll talk shit. He'll be like, well, yeah, you're damn right. No, but, you know, Jared has always had great taste in music. You know, he introduced me to a lot of bands in college, like Against Me, Bedouin Sound Clash.
I don't know them.
Oh, Jeb Brand. Got to listen to Jeb Brand.
Right.
Totally off topic. Rise Against. Like, he was more into, like, heavier music, like the punk rock, like a lot of yelling. But I got into it. And so when I listened to Avail, this morning, actually, I just texted him and was like, dude, I had no idea about Avail. He goes, who's that? And I was like, no shit. And he's like, no, I never really listened to them. I was like, and to preface this too, when Jared saw that I'm opening for Tim Berry, he texted me and was like, you're opening for Tim Berry? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, sweet. And so in my head, I thought he knew Tim Berry from Avail. I assumed.
Sure.
I was wrong. He only knew Tim Berry from Tim Berry. And so when I started listening to Avail, in my head, I was like, Jared loves this band. He never heard of them. So I immediately sent the link. I was like, you need to listen to these guys like right now, because they have this sound that's similar to Against Me, a little bit harder, a little bit stronger, a little bit like not stronger, but like edgier.
Yeah.
You know? And he was like, cool, I'll check it out. And those are the conversations that Jared and I have, where it's like very short.
Yeah.
But going back to this album, man, I mean, you know, it goes without saying that the album really resonated with me itself. These songs take you on a journey from start to finish. The side A, which, by the way, real quick, this record is super, super dope. It's a white vinyl. And then on the side A, it says this side and that side. So like side B says that side.
Yeah.
I think that was like super like tongue in cheek. And I find that super funny.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time with these songs. You know, O and DP is like a clap your hands, say yeah kind of song. And I really, really enjoyed it. Riverbank, dude, the line about, you know, like just taking your dog down to the river. Like,
yes.
Yeah, man, like that
whole story.
Yeah. No, it's great.
That whole story, I was listening to it again today. That song in particular is probably my favorite on the record.
Yeah.
And that you can picture that scene so clearly in your mind. He paints such a beautiful picture.
Yeah. And absolutely. And there's this like Irish folk influence that I think is also there, which resonates. I'll get into this in a second. It resonates with being a punk rock artist as well. Real quick with Riverbank. There's a song I came across recently called Cannonball, and it's by 6'10", like 6'10". Okay. I don't know how they pronounce their name. I believe they're an Irish folk band.
Okay.
But very reminiscent. Like it like the song kind of like coincides in a way for me. So I recommend that. I'll have to send that song to you. But yeah, the thing that I've noticed, especially playing in the singer-songwriter folk rock Americana circuit, is you get a lot of these singer-songwriters. I mean, John Moreland's one of them, where they have a very punk rock background or metal background, or they're coming from other influences. Austin Lucas, now Abigail Austin, like very much influenced by heavier shit. It's so cool to me and so interesting how it translates. So again, going back to listening to Avail this morning and being like, wow, that's the same dude. And the music, it has a very close similarity, but also way different on a grand spectrum. Like on a grand scale, the music's not the same, but it's still the same dude. And I can respect that. And so, like, you know, like I think of like William Elliott Whitmore, got to open for him and play a show with him earlier this year. Like, that's another dude where I can tell he has a lot of influence from other genres, you know? And I think that there's a lot to be said about that because it shows how good of a songwriter they are. It's not just about their performance or about the music or about how good it is or whether you like the song or not. It really is the artistry. It's everything that they bring to the music itself. And, you know, I commend Tim for making such great music. I can't wait to dive into more songs. I am a big fan of his big hit, and it's totally blanking as I'm saying it right now. It's like his top hit on Spotify.
Tim has a hit?
It's a hit to me, but it's like political. Why am I blanking? Oh my god!
It's a solo.
Might have to edit this out. Yeah, no, it's a. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll have to look.
Yeah.
We'll look it up and then we'll tell everybody what it is. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm forgetting it right now.
Okay, I can edit this.
Or
leave it in.
Or whatever, we'll figure it out. Put it at the beginning, Jason. That's your fucking MO.
I know, it's fun.
No, man, but I will say this was a great album to end the year on.
Sweet.
I very much enjoyed it. Some other big hits that I really enjoyed. Chelsea. How's Brooklyn doing tonight? Cool. Little Eden ended on a great note.
Yes.
Like what a great way to end an album. Again, like I look at albums as a cohesive unit. If you're gonna put an album together, I would like there to be some sort of like unification from start to finish where you feel like everything fits into place.
Yeah. And
you could tell that this album does that.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Really, really enjoyed this one.
Good. I'm so glad.
Hell yeah. So aside from maybe I should ask a different question since I kind of spoiled the beans in saying why you gave me the album.
Well, I have more to say on that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was going to say like maybe like why is it your favorite album? But yeah.
I have more to say on that. So, you know, I grew up middle class, white, heterosexual, cisgender in the South. I didn't have a lot to rebel against, right? Like, I had all the privilege in the world. Now, I had normal teenage angst. It's not like my life was perfect. I definitely have plenty of family shit. I definitely have my own demons. But societally, I didn't really have, like, punk rock did not land with me when I was growing up. I listened to, you know, we all listened to Green Day's Dookie because it was popular.
Sure.
And when that came out when I was in middle school, there's a couple of records that came out at that time that were really Rancid, the one that has Ruby Soho on it. Like some of those records were so big that I listened to them because they were ubiquitous, but it just didn't. I was much more into country music. I was much more into hip hop. I did not punk rock did not hit for me until Avail. And what happened was my buddy, who also was like me, but for whatever reason really loved punk rock music, he turned me on to two bands. One was Hot Water Music, and one was Avail. And the reason I think he knew that those two bands would hit for me, specifically Avail, because, you know, they're from Virginia. Yeah. It's country adjacent. Like, those records, Over the James is just this far away from being a country record, but it's sped up. Yeah, and he was singing about politics in a way that I wasn't exposed to, right? Like, my father was an elected Republican official. I grew up in this very conservative environment, and he's talking about pollution, he's talking about corruption, all these things that, like, aren't conversations that you have when you grow up a Republican in the South in the 90s. And so he was opening my mind a lot, right?
Yeah.
And that record made me go, oh, wait a minute, maybe I do like punk rock. And then I listened to Hot Water Music, and of course, Chuck Reagan has been on the show, and I'm working on getting him on again, y'all.
I want to
put that in the
he is on my short list of guys that I want to hit the road with if he ever goes on tour.
Chuck
Reagan. I would love to hit the road with you.
Yeah, Chuck, go on. Yeah, take Jordan on tour, and come back on the show.
Yeah,
Marinade, or this show. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, we want.
I'll make a new show for you.
Well, we've talked about having people on.
We have.
I mean, it would be really cool to have BJ on.
Yep.
We got Tyler Hood. Tyler Hood's waiting in the wings, just ready to talk with us. So
let's make it happen.
We just need to start having guests.
Let's make it happen. Yeah. But yeah, so Tim Barry's music, he was my gateway. Avail was my gateway to punk music, and now. I think about it. I think I have plenty of imposter syndrome about my songs, but I definitely have imposter syndrome about the idea that people listen to me play and call my music folk punk. It is though. It is, and it is because of Tim Barry. It is because of Chuck Reagan. It is because of Ben Nichols.
Hell yeah, man.
That's the music that I gravitate toward, right? Of course, the Sturgill Simpsons and Jason Isbells, who we'll get to later, and then in the next episode of the show, those folks are, they're masters at their crafts, and they are constantly on my turntable and constantly in my algorithm. But the stuff that's the comfort food for me, it's Tim Barry.
Mm-hmm.
It's Chuck Reagan.
That's wild, man.
It's Ben Nichols, and I don't think I say that publicly very often because I don't think that's sort of what I project very very much. But last night, I was hanging out after that comedy show I mentioned earlier at Barley and Vine, and my buddy Tommy, who was in punk bands, including bands that played on Warped Tour, we were talking about his guitar that I'm borrowing,
mm-hmm.
and then he was talking about my music, and he referred to it as folk punk, and I went, yeah, and that's because I listened to people like Tim Barry and Chuck Reagan. I was like, those are the stories I want to tell.
Yeah, man.
I want to tell stories like that. I want to. There's a simplicity to what they're doing, but it's also. I don't mean simple as in lesser than. I mean simple as in they're getting their point across very clearly.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of you're not having to guess what Tim's trying to tell you. He's punching you in the mouth with it.
Yeah.
And it's really comfortable for me, right? To hear that from a Southern man who's also kind of a wild person. Like he's got these like you said, he seems to be a great family man. But also, if you email Tim Barry, I've tried to get him on the show several times.
Yeah.
If you email Tim Barry, you get an auto reply that says, Tim Barry's gone fishing. And that's happened to me several times because I've been trying to get Tim on the show for fucking 7 years now. But he's hard to wrangle. He like rides the rails.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, man.
He just hops trains.
That's awesome.
And I just think he to me, I almost don't want to get him on the show because to me he's almost like this mythical character in my mind, and there are certain artists that I want to keep them at an arm's length because I don't want to be disappointed, which I've never been. I mean, I interviewed Ben Nichols, for example, and Chuck Reagan, and both of them were as cool, if not cooler than I thought they were going to be.
Real quick, that's how I feel about covering certain songs.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm playing like a bar gig.
Uh-huh.
Anybody that has ever come up to be like, and I know not a lot of people, there are people who love Hotel California and people who don't.
The people who don't are wrong.
Exactly. It's one of my all-time favorite songs that I grew up with. And I remember trying to play it one time at World of Beer when I was first starting out, and I butchered it.
Uh-huh.
And I just felt like you can't play your favorite songs of all time because you're never going to do them the justice that you want to do them as,
Uh-huh.
And I think that goes hand in hand with like you wanting to talk with, because you said this about Jason Isbell too, is that like you would like, it would be an absolute honor, but it is so high up for you that like you don't know if it would even be like, you don't know if you could handle it.
Yeah.
You know, or that you would even want to. So it's like you'd rather it just be like
I wouldn't say no, but
no, yeah, you wouldn't say no.
I'm not going to make the effort to
you're
reach
not
out.
Go, yeah. And I can really appreciate that, because again, you're taking time to talk with artists that in the Marinade in particular, not to like promote it, but to promote it.
Let's promote it.
Yeah, let's promote it. Shit, what am I saying? You take the time to dive into up and coming artists so well and so eloquently, and so
Thank you.
Your research, man, it is always something that I'm blown away by. I've told you that you remind me of like the Americana version of Sean Evans from
Really,
Hot Ones.
I love that.
Yeah, because you have a way of, I mean, like, again, this goes back to like watching you interview BJ Barnum. I mean, granted, BJ, you can ask him a question and he runs with it and has so much to say, and he's such an intelligent human being. But you have a way of bringing that out of people. And I think that goes without saying, especially with this podcast. So it's really, really cool to hear. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like it's really, really cool to hear you talk about, honestly, an artist that I didn't know enough about, man. Like I know that he's come through town a handful of times, and I know that, you know, he's playing at Will's Pub. He's doing the damn thing. He's like hitting the venues that need the artists to come through too. You know, I mean, Will's Pub is a staple of Orlando, and I'm sure all the you know, I would like to think that all cities have that rock of a venue that is still up, still going, and is bringing in good music.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool to hear you dive into Tim and what he means to you.
I'm stoked for you to open for him, man. I've only seen him play one song, and the reason why is that at the Sing Out Loud Festival a few years ago, I interviewed Abigail, who you mentioned earlier.
Right.
At that time, Austin Lucas. And Chuck Reagan and Sadler Vaden from the 400 unit the same day.
Wow, what a day.
Yeah.
It was hot too, wasn't it? Like it was like a scorcher of the day.
It was.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, it was a really hot day. And I was sitting down with then Austin in kind of in like an office and interviewing. And while that was happening, Tim Berry was playing.
Oh,
so
man.
You can actually hear on the recording Tim Berry in the background.
Oh, wow.
It's muffled, but you can hear it.
Well, shit, man, cool. Then I'm glad that
I've never seen a full set.
Yeah, so you're coming then.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you're not missing this.
Hell no, I'm not missing it.
Sweet, dude.
Yeah.
Well, let me see if I can get you on the guest list.
See if you can pull some strings. Big timer over here, Mr. Jordan.
Maybe I'll try to get you an interview. I don't know. Tim Berry, if you hear us talking. Getting all sexual.
Oh, I don't know. I just got naughty.
No, Tim, man, if you're listening to this, if you take the time to listen to it, man, we obviously, like, Jason loves your music. I'm a new fan. I can't wait to open for you, dude. And it's an absolute honor.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm so glad you enjoyed that so much. What a great episode. This has been a ton of fun.
It's been a fun episode.
Yeah.
You know,
it's fun when we both like the records.
Yeah, it is. We should work on that more. We should work on that more often. What a great episode to wrap up, you know, the first year of Life's Greatest Hits of Vinyl Swap. You know, this all started, I've said this before, you know, I'll say it again. Life's Greatest Hits all started because of my affection for music. Mm-hmm. And wanting to share, you know, it goes back to the story I told about my students in middle school and sharing music with them. I grew this affection for wanting to communicate and talk about music, not just being a musician, but I had ambitions of wanting to start a music magazine back in the day. I don't know if we ever talked about that, but like I went to get my master's degree. I got my master's degree so that I could literally start some sort of music catalog or music magazine that can like, but it came at a time when the digital age, it was falling apart.
What's your master's then?
New media journalism.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very
at Full
cool.
Sail. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did the program and I really focused on music and what I wanted to do before I even dove into doing my own music live was wanting to interview other artists and musicians and get involved. And the coolest thing before this podcast came into play, the coolest thing that that happened that has happened with Life's Greatest Hits, and it evolving into something bigger than I expected it to be. I was just going to share music, man. I was just like, I was tired of sharing every song that I was listening to on Spotify on my personal Instagram handle. Yeah. And I felt like it was too much. And so I was like, I need somewhere to like harvest the music that I'm listening to. And that's what this has become. It went from, you know, posting on a pretty strict schedule of song of the week on Monday, lyrics of the day on Tuesday, Life's Greatest Hits, one of my favorite songs of all time, on Wednesday, Thursday, cover songs, because covers don't get enough credit, you know, or, you know, there are really good cover songs out there. Give them a chance kind of deal. And then Friday's New Music Friday. So that's still in play. It's still involved. And I'm getting off topic. One of the coolest things about Life's Greatest Hits was I didn't realize how much it was going to help me connect with other artists. That being able to tag an artist and show them that their song is my song of the week, or their album is one of my favorite albums of the year that I'm listening to. It goes a long way, and being an artist, it warms my heart if anybody says that type of shit about my music. Mm-hmm. So to be able to take the time to express that to other artists that I enjoy, I feel like that's become very, very important for them to feel valued, not just from a professional standpoint, from media and publicity. I'm just a dude who loves music. So it was my chance to be able to do that. And then to watch you come into the fold here, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this in the next episode, so I don't want to give too much away now. But just to wrap this episode up with a nice bow, for you to come in, man, I remember there was a couple years ago where I think I was going out of town, and I asked you to do a takeover, and you spent a whole week just doing the shit that I was doing on Life's Greatest Hits. I think in that moment, when around that time our friendship was growing, that I started to see that like we could make this something bigger. And the fact that you took your time you're investing your time, you're investing your name, you're spending time with me doing this, obviously means the world to me. So thank you to you. Thank you to anybody who takes the time to listen to this podcast. Folks, we're just two dudes who really love talking about music and talking vinyl. And that's a whole world and community that we're really trying to delve into and really get involved with. So if you have a vinyl nerd in your life, like, let them know about this. Let them know about this podcast. You know, we can't stress it enough. The best way to market ourselves, we're not going to do Facebook ads. We're not going to, I mean, like, as of now, we're just trying to share music that we love. And we want to spread the word through word of mouth. And we also have a lot of really cool things in the works.
We do.
Like, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it because I'm really fucking excited about what we have in the works. Yeah. Jason and I are planning on hitting the road together in the new year. Now, granted, I'm getting married in the fall. I have a big wedding. Jason's gonna be the officiant, which I'm super honored about. But you know, and it's gonna be a busy year. Is basically what I'm saying with that hitting the road and everything. But Jason and I want to hit the road and go to different record stores in the Southeast. And we want to talk with the owners. We want to go and pick out a record in the store and just talk about it on the fly. Yeah. I think that might be like a really cool concept and something that we want to do. And we just want to engage with other vinyl enthusiasts. Yep. So again, if there's that enthusiast or nerd that loves vinyl in your life, man, let them know about Life's Greatest Hits, Vinyl Swap. We really, really, really do appreciate it.
Hell yeah, dude. Thanks for all of that.
Hell yeah.
Make sure you follow Jordan Foley in the Wheelhouse on all the socials.
Yeah, man.
Make sure you follow Life's Greatest Hits. We are now on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky.
Hell yeah. And still working on the TikTok.
Still working
TikTok's
on TikTok.
hard, man.
TikTok's
I don't
hard.
know it. I'm old. I'm older.
I know, same.
I'm a millennial.
Same. Well, I'm a Gen X.
Like, yeah.
I don't know why I'm trying to make myself younger.
But yeah, like, check us out. And then this next upcoming episode, which we are about to record here very shortly.
After a wardrobe change.
Yeah, wardrobe change. Gave it away, man. What are we doing? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
no, it's fine.
That's going to the front.
I'm just taking off this flannel.
I'm going shirtless.
The next episode, folks, is going to be our superlatives of the year. So we have decided that in the next episode, we're going to sit down and talk about our we have 2 records that both of us feel are the best records of the year. So we're gonna and we both have them on we have them both on vinyl. So we're definitely gonna talk about those.
Yeah.
And then we're each bringing to the table 3 records that were the best purchases of the year and why we love them so much.
I'm going to put a caveat on that.
Oh.
Acquisitions of the year, because one of them was gifted to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, acquisitions. What a word. Did you just take the SAT or something?
I teach English, baby.
Yeah, I know, right? But cheers, everybody. Happy holidays.
Also, don't forget to follow the Marinade on all the
That's
things,
right.
too.
Oh, my gosh.
Marinade
How rude
Podcast.
of me. How rude.
We're on Blue Sky. We're on Spoutable. Who's not on
I
Spoutable?
don't even know what Spoutable is.
Yeah, you don't need to. Twitter, Instagram. We're not on Facebook. The Marinade's not, at least, but that's everything else. We're available, including TikTok, which
Yeah, man.
I try.
Yeah, keep telling people, dude. Keep telling people what you got going on. Your Orange Blossom video is really cool.
Oh, great! Thank you,
Keep
man.
doing that shit.
Y'all, thank you so much for sharing your life's greatest hits with us, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see ya.